Okay, hello, dear colleagues. It's really nice to see you all today. And today we have our first open seminar of International Laboratory for Applied Network Research for new academic year of 2021-2022. And we decided to start this set of seminars with the presentation of our project, which is called Collaboration Patterns in the Russian Sociological Community, the Structure of Scientific Schools and Their Growth Potential. And this is the project that we got during the competition of the Russian Scientific Foundation. It was individual project, so under my management, and it includes several other people from the lab. But we are very much open and we are welcome to join us and to work together on this amazing topic. We think it should be really interesting. And today, me and Aruna Kim, who is not Radnaeva anymore, we will present. It is still a little bit strange for me to see Kim here on the slide. Yeah, today we will present the main idea of the project and also something that we can already show you, some work which was done. And before we start, I'd like to say the words of gratitude to the members of our lab. First of all, to Valentina Kuskova, who was actually the main ideas leader in this sense, because she sent me the letter that we should apply for this competition. And without this, I would never go for making an application, having a 4-month-old baby. But as Valentina proposed us to have to do it, we decided that we should at least try. And of course, we tried our best, but I was not really sure that, I didn't have many expectations about this project so that we will get anything, because it's the first time we are applying and probably we do not know any things that we should know. So anyway, we decided to apply, and thanks a lot to Valentina. And then we discussed the idea of this project and also another project which we applied for. It was a group project. We discussed it with our scientific advisors, Anushka Ferligoy and Vladimir Batagel, who are now here in this Zoom, in this seminar. So it was nice to discuss it briefly from the very beginning, and we were quite sure that we can, that we are thinking in a right way, let's say. Also thanks to Stas Moiseev, who helped a lot with also clarifying some ideas and helping me to formulate some tasks and some things. He just defended his PhD, so he was very nice in this how to formulate something in the right way. Of course, a lot of thanks to Aruna, and she was the best helper in this application, because she was translating things and she the parts of the application, and she was even uploading something to the website, and so she was working very hard and very fast, and we didn't have a lot of time. So Aruna, we did a great job. And I also want to say that so we got some corrections also from Anushka, Vlado, and Stas, and I just want to mention that Vlado even made some comments in the Russian part of our application, so which is great. Thank you very much for being so particular. And of course, it's great to have support from High School of Economics, who helps us with the application and now helps us with organization of all the work. So without them, it would be really very, very difficult to apply. We just needed to fulfill the forms, and then something was going on without us. So that's great. Of course, a lot of thanks to our junior, our youngest junior research fellow, Mark, our son, who was that time he was so he was small enough, so he could sleep a lot, and he could also he could not roll away very far from me, so it was possible just to sit somewhere close to him and to work on this application, because several months later it would be really impossible to do it in the same way. So somehow it happened that the stars were on our side, let's say. Okay. After this nice part, let's move to our agenda. So today we would like to present the relevance and the aim of the research, and then we will tell about research design and the results that we are going to get, and also the plan of our work. Then we will have literature review, so we will tell how this topic was studied before, and this will be the part of Aruna, because she's working on this topic quite a lot. And then I will tell something about databases that we can use for this study, and then we will conclude. And I hope that we will also have some discussion, because we have a lot of questions, and it would be nice to start discussing them from the very beginning. Okay, going to relevance of the study. We formulated in such a way that now the scientific knowledge and science in general are globalized, and they are transformed in such a way that national scientific institutions need to compete at the global level. So we cannot be, success if we would have cooperation only inside the country. We also need to go to this international level. And at the same time, it was shown that the activity of scientists cannot be reduced to individual creativity anymore, and there are various types of relationships between the scientists, and we see that there is a social stratification within the scientific community. And the scientists who work with these topics started formulate such concepts as scientific field, invisible college, citation network, collaboration network, which means that the interactions between the scientists within research communities are really important for the successful implementation of science and scientific projects. And that's why in this study we think that if we study the interactions of scientists at the local level, we can see how efficient or inefficient they are, and then we can form ideas of some structural changes which are necessary to increase the competitiveness of research teams in the international area. But for the community of sociologists, this is especially relevant because, as some authors says, the development of sociology in Russia, in Soviet Union and Russia, can be characterized as nonlinear and even dramatic, because they can be we can say that there are two main periods in sociology, and one of them is the sociology which was developed in the context of the idea of foreign social researchers in the period before revolution. But as many of you know, after the revolution, the sociology was said to be a bourgeois science, and so it was a kind of forbidden, and it was 50 years later when sociology grew up again, but in sense of factory research. So this was the sociology of labor, and the only connection to this bourgeois science was through the criticism, and so it was not connected to this sociology on the international level. And however, this sociology can be characterized also by some original ideas, So there were theoretical and methodological approaches, methodological and instrumental innovations developed, and also regional scientific schools were created. And these were research communities with their own system of scientific use. However, the flip side of this was the weak integration with foreign sociological science, and the insignificant and only selective representation of Russian sociologists in the world scientific discourse. And what we can see now in modern Russia, there is a high level of centralization, which somehow strengthens communities in Moscow and St. Petersburg. I'm sorry, there is a little sound somewhere. Thanks. So the communities within Moscow and St. Petersburg became more, how to say, advanced. But at the same time, there is a question about the existence of the regional scientific schools, which were developed in the Soviet Union. So it even makes it possible to characterize the relations between the different groups of sociologists in Russia in the terms of metropolitan and provincial sciences. So just as an example of this problem, of this set of problem, there is a funny case of two all-Russian sociological congresses which took place in 2012. One of them was held in Moscow and it was organized by Federal Research Sociological Center of the Russian Academy of Science. And another was, so the real one was held in October, and it was in Ufa and organized by Russian Society of Sociologists. So it is quite strange that at the same time, different groups of people decided to have this all-Russian Sociological Congress, which shows the lack of connections between them, of course. So going to the aim of the project, we can say that, so we formulate the aim of the project is that solving a scientific problem related to the current lack of knowledge about how the structure of collaboration in the scientific community of Russian sociologists is organized, and by which patterns it can be characterized. And we think that studying these structural characteristics, we will be able to identify the growth potential. So we mean necessary structural changes for our Russian sociology, which can affect the change in the current situation, so that the existing scientific schools can be more visible and more competitive in the international level. As a methodology, as the paradigm, we use mixed methods research, which implies the sequential quantitative and qualitative stages of data collection and analysis. And the main methods that we use are bibliometric network analysis, which we use a lot. And so it's using social network analysis, we can talk about the structure in terms of core and periphery and vertical and hierarchical relations. And so we are going to use social network analysis to study the structure of the sociological community and to get the different groups or schools of sociologists in Russia, and determine their orientations to local or foreign scientific communities, like whom they see in their collaboration practices. And then we are going to also use expert interviews as another method, and also comparison with data of similar international studies. So we are going to discuss the results with experts in the field of scientific collaboration, and we think that it will help us to characterize the existing patterns of collaboration and identify the growth potential for the internationalization of Russian scientific sociological schools. So there are people who are working on this topic for quite some time, and also our colleagues from Slovenia. So after this structural stage, we are going to discuss the results with these people. And as the source of data, we are going to use bibliographic data on publications of Russian sociologists in scientific citation databases. And in this sense, we understand collaboration as co-authorship of a scientific article. And also we are going to add the data on participation in conferences of the largest sociological associations, such as International Sociological Association, European and American. And in this sense, we are going to understand collaboration as a joint organization of a section or a joint participation in one section. And we are going to look at the time, at the 10-year time slot, so from 2010 to 2019. And we see our scientific contribution in a broad way to the field of scientometrics and bibliometrics, because we are going to use methodology of social network analysis for collaboration networks for Russian-speaking authors. So we think that there should be developed a methodology for such analysis. And also we are going to combine conference-based collaboration data with bibliographic data. So it's also a kind of challenge how it should be organized. And we also propose some, so the project implies some social significance, which implies that the results will have a practical orientation and can become the basis for making some decisions about what should be done, what should be changed to strengthen the position of Russian sociologists on the international level. And of course, to be supported by Russian Scientific Foundation, the project should have scientific novelty. And so we have this on different levels. So on the level of problem and goal, the project aims to close the gaps in knowledge about the Russian sociological community, which is related to lack of information about the current structure of collaboration, existing schools and patterns of collaboration. So there are some very, very nice projects, and Aruna will later tell about them. However, this research are done on the local level, for example, St. Petersburg. And in this project, we are going to look at the whole Russian situation. Then on the level of data, the project proposes to develop an innovative approach to the analysis of bibliographic networks of Russian-speaking authors and to combine different sources of data on collaboration. So there is the methodology which we use a lot in the lab to make bibliographic analysis of different scientific fields. However, it works for data from Web of Science, and this is data in English. So getting this methodology for Russian language will be challenging, but it will be very important. So because we think that after this, it can be also used in to study different scientific fields. And on the level of methodology, actually, I already talked about this. So it will be a unique database. So yeah, we will be able to make some conclusions about the structure and specifics of collaboration on the national sociological community, and it will be possible to use in other studies. And our research tasks are shown on this slide. So we are going to identify the general structure of collaboration in the Russian sociological community. That we are going to identify different local groups, scientific schools, as we call them, in this general structure of collaboration. Then we would like to see orientations of groups of sociologists to local and foreign scientific communities. There is this project that I already mentioned about the local community of St. Petersburg sociologists. And this can be a kind of role model for us in solving this task. Then we would like to compare the structural patterns of collaboration in the scientific community of Russian sociologists with the results of similar international studies, and we know such studies, for example, of the sociologists and social sciences in Slovenia. And then we are going to characterize the established patterns of collaboration using expert interviews, and then we are going to reveal and describe the growth potential for the internationalization of the existing schools. And the expected results that we are going to get in 2 years, the project is for 2 years, is that we have the general structure of collaboration, local groups and their orientation, and existing structural patterns of collaboration are characterized and compared with similar international studies, that growth potential is shown, and original methodology for the collection and analysis of bibliometric information about scientific publications and participation in international conferences of Russian sociologists is proposed. So as I said, we hope that this methodology will be able, it will be able to use in other studies. So this is the working plan for the first year, and so we started in August, but actually we were more working on the organization of the project. And so now we have till the end of October, we have the stage of preparation for data collection, and which means that we are going to finalize the literature review and to compare bibliographic databases and select one, or not one, but several of them as a source of information. And then we are describing the methodology for collecting bibliographic data of publications of Russian-speaking authors, describing methodology for collecting data on the participation of Russian sociologists in international conferences. And then we need to create a database prototype and make a pilot data collection. So this is till the end of October. And then in November and December, we have a stage of data collection. And from January to March, we have data analysis. And then from April to August, we have the presentation of the intermediate results. And for the second year, we are going to work on this qualitative part of the study. So in September, we are going to prepare for expert interviews, and October, December, we are collecting these interviews, and we are thinking about minimum 10 interviews, but if we will get more, it will be also nice. And then at the same stage, we are transcribing interviews and encoding the data. And then at the same time, from September to January, we are working on the article describing the research methodology, data collection and results, so the work of the first year. And then after collecting interviews from January to March, we analyze them jointly with the results of bibliometric analysis. And then from April to June, which is the official finish of our project, we are going to present the results and participate in conferences and work on the articles. So here, expected results are shown. So it's pretty much based on the information that I already told. So we need to make a literature review and comparison of databases and methodology for collecting data from bibliographic sources and from conference participation should be also proposed. And then we need to collect data and make a bibliometric data analysis according to the tasks that we have. Then we need to also present the results at 2 or more international conferences and to make a draft article. And then the second year is following the tasks and the tasks that we have for the second year, the plan. And here I can add that we think about 20 experts, and probably 10 of them would participate in the study. And so on the second year, we also need to present the data on the conferences on network analysis and sociology. And then we publish one article and then publish another one, which would combine all the results. So first article is going to be on the quantitative analysis, on bibliographic network analysis, and second should contain also expert interviews. So this is the plan, and our official report should. So these are just 2 articles in Journals Index and Web of Science core collection of Scopus. So we think it's not too much, and it's pretty possible to make these 2 publications in these 2 years. So this is about our research design and our plan for work. And now I think I will give a floor to Aruna, who will present the part of the literature review that is already done. So Aruna, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Dasha. Thank you, Dasha. I will describe a literature review, which we already have. So the current state of the research in the field of collaboration structure in the community of Russian sociologists, we consider that this problem we can work with this problem in 2 different perspectives. First, we can check the studies of the sociological community, which use a variety of research methods. And another perspective, we can check the studies of scientific communities from other research areas, but where the methodology of network bibliometric analysis is applied. Next slide, please. We checked a lot of articles about sociological communities, about sociological community, and we realized that actually they have 3 main objects which are described in them. First, it is sociology as a science, then sociological community in academia, and sociological community in practice. Means that their research described those people who do some practical application of sociological research as posters. Next slide, please. So we prepared such a table with the research on sociology and sociological community in USSR and Russia. So here we have the historiographical description of sociology as a science. So in all those studies, authors used documents as the main and the only data source. For instance, in the article of Pirsov, he described the history of development of the sociology in USSR and Russia, and all others. Then another object of the study is the academicians, the academicals community of sociology. Here we have more studies. One of the very popular studies was made by Doktorov, who collected maybe who studied individual trajectories of professional career in academia, and he had historiographical and biographical description. He used documents and, as far as I remember, more than 2,000 of interviews as data source. Then there is a study of studies of professional academic career in collaboration networks. It is the study by Batygin, Gradosielskaya, Karpachev, and MASNA, who used interviews and bibliographic data, and actually used the social network analysis method to observe different types of networks. Another anthropological description of of academic communication among Russian sociologists was made by Sokolov and Kitaev. Maybe we can say that they used a converse analysis. Another subject of the study is structural features and the meaning of relations underlying the formation of a professional community of sociologists. This study actually was made by our colleagues. So they used the interview data and also did a social network analysis to reveal the structural features and the meaning of relations. And also a very popular study is a study of our colleagues from St. Petersburg who checked the local structure, the structure of local community of sociologists in St. Petersburg, and then they also applied social network analysis to reveal the structural patterns of local community in St. Petersburg. They used data from the survey and documents. Next slide, please. For poster studies, there are not so many studies on this topic. So we have the study about the information culture and professional communication, which were made by Zadorin and Maltseva. They used the survey as the main data source, and they did a quantitative analysis to observe professional information culture. Another topic is an in-group communication in the professional line community of sociologists about a particular topic, which was also made by Dasha, who collected the data from social media and applied social network analysis. And a recent study of Barkhatovой, who checked the structural features of Russian sociologists' communication in the online community. She also used the data from social media and applied social network analysis to reveal the online community structure. Next slide, please. Summing up, we can say that all these mentioned Russian studies suggest that modern Russian sociological community is extremely heterogeneous and includes a number of groups or scientific schools that have different orientations inside and outside the community, and those groups or scientific schools are different in relations with each other in terms of structure of interactions. And this differentiation of scientific school and groups is a starting point for this research project. What we noticed that all described studies of Russian community of sociologists, in these studies, there is no data on co-authorship, which could characterize the patterns of scientific collaboration in general Russian sociology. So in these terms, we checked the studies on scientific collaborations and co-authorship networks. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. The phenomenon of scientific collaboration has been widely studied with the help of bibliometric tools over the past decades. And we find that there are several studies of trends even in sociological science based on the analysis of co-authorship networks in the United States, the comparison of the co-authorship networks in the United States and France, and the Slovenia. So co-authorship networks are successfully used in the international science to study various scientific fields, which are both represented globally for example, scientometrics and infometrics, social network analysis, and locally, like information science in Argentina, economics in Poland. Next slide, please. So this co-authorship data serve as a source of information for studying patterns of scientific collaboration in various sciences, comparing with each other. And we found several fields where this co-authorship data was used, for instance, in biology, physics, and mathematics, in the studies of Newman. Barabashi and others studied co-authorships in mathematics and neuroscience, and we have a study of our colleagues from Slovenia who studied all research disciplines in one country, in Slovenia. And also scientific networks of co-authorship studied in the multinational level, and international cooperations in the field of science. Next slide, please. So what we find out that foreign studies show that the academic communities have a hierarchical structure, which is called core periphery, and we know this from longitudinal study of co-authorship of Slovenian scientists from different disciplines. Different types of groups in the structure of communities were identified. Please, previous slide, please.
Yeah, it's fine now. Sorry.
Dasha, can you? Yeah.
Yes, but yes.
Yeah. Yes. So in this study, were identified different types of groups in the structure of communities, like core, periphery, semi-peripheral, as well as the structure with the bridging core. So in both a simple and the bridging core are located in the network structure, and this block connection called consolidated center, which forms a more consistent exchange of information between the cores. So this is what we have now in the literature review. Dasha will continue with the description of our possible databases.
Yes, thank you very much, Aruna. Yes, so now questions starts. So we have different options as sources of information. So different databases, and one of them is e-library, which is whole Russian electronic library. I tried to see which results we will get with different search approaches. So one of the approaches is that if we will just open the search and we will choose the category sociology. You can see here on the slide in the center. So we just say that we have the type of publication will be articles and journals, and the topic is sociology. And then we also can choose the years from 2010 to 2019. And then we get the results. And according to this search, we will get 782,046 articles, quite a lot. And so this is the first way to get the data. So we get everything which is written, all the articles which are written on the topic of sociology. Another approach is that if we search by journals category, also sociology, Here you can see that also we choose the parameter of topic, tematica, so it will be sociology, and there are 802 journals. But if you look at these journals, what is interesting is that many of them are foreign journals. So for example, here on the slide, you can see that, okay, some of them are like Alma Mater, Вестник высшей школы. This is just the name. So it is published by Russian Center. But here, for example, we have American Scholar, American Sociological Review, American Sociologist, Annual Review of Sociology, and etc. So we have also foreign journals. And in this sense, this is a question. So we should go deeper to study this, but I propose that some articles of the Russian scientists can be published in these international journals, and this also should be counted as the publication of Russian scientists, Russian sociologists. This journal can appear on this page, but we should check it. If it includes really Russian scholars or not. Then another approach is that we search by journals rating science index, and this is Russian index of the journals. And we choose the topic of sociology. And then we have 117 journals in sociology. And these are journals in Russian, according to their titles, their names, and they are quite well known. So this can be another approach at first get the list of journals, and then to go to each journal. For example, on this slide, we have sociological research, социологический журнал, and they have here 1,471 articles. And so we can extract data for this journal. Then also we can search by authors in the category of sociology, and this would get us 9,058 authors who are indexed in this base as sociologists. Then we have another database which is called Cyberleninka. And we can search there for articles and for the journals. And if we search for the articles, there is a category in social sciences here, which is called социологические науки, sociological sciences. And then we just get a lot of pages with articles. And this search query will give us 2,711 pages with articles, so quite a lot. So of course now we cannot count how many articles we get from this approach and another approach, so we should check it and then compare. Then there is of course a database Web of Science, which we get used to use, and there is one of the database which is indexed in Web of Science is Russian Science Citation Index, which is pretty much the same that we had in eLibrary. So we can search in this database. However, we need to write a topic, so we cannot obtain all the information which is stored for Russian Science Citation Index. So it's, as for now, I didn't get the idea how we can get the data on sociology from this database. Then there is Web of Science core collection. Because Russian sociologists can also, and they do publish papers in international journals. what I noticed here is that there is the option of language, so we can choose the language. So, for example, Russian. But then we also need a topic, so we cannot just search for all the articles which are written in Russian language. But again, some of the articles of Russian authors can be published in English, and so I think we also need to somehow take them into account. So it will not be fair not to look at them. After this brief introduction of databases, we came to conclusions, and now we have some questions on the levels of personalization and data. So for a personalization, we need to understand what articles of Russian sociologists mean for us. So are they articles published in Russian language, or they are Russian-based journals? But Russian-based journals can also publish articles in English. Or we should include all the articles which are published by a Russian author. So the person who is staying in, who has a Russian affiliation, for example. So this is a question to think about. And also on the level of data, we will need to solve the question of should we choose one of the databases or somehow combine the information from them. It will be actually interesting to get the information and to compare. Also, there are such studies that we know in bibliometric and scientometric analysis that compare different databases and shows some differentiations between them. If we choose a library, for example, then we can search by category, by journal, by author, and there are different ways. So we should think which way is better and which way we should choose. And also we already started our collaboration with the library a lot of years ago. I think it was probably 6 or 7 years ago. And probably having this project, we can come back to this idea and return to a library with this project, and probably it will be easier to get the data. So these are just a lot of questions, and I know that now probably not a lot, but some important questions which should be solved in advance before moving on. And I know that now there are some of our colleagues who have experience in this kind of research here in this seminar. So it will be nice to listen to your ideas about it. But just to conclude, I need to say that a lot of work needs to be done. So we have 2 years, but it's not so much. Because as you also saw, most of the work on bibliometric data analysis should be done in the first year. And we are very open, and we welcome any advice, comments, and ideas, and any proposals to collaborate together on this topic. And we think that it's a nice idea to have to present the results from time to time in our lab seminar. So probably like once in a month or something like this, or to create a special seminar for this. So it will be nice because it's great to discuss the results on the way. So you are going also to join the seminars, so stay tuned. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. The presentation is over, and it's nice. It would be nice to make some discussion now. I can probably stop the demonstration at least for now.
Okay. Sorry.
It will be useful, I think, to re-listen it again.
Maybe I can begin. These Russian databases, they include all kinds of journals which are not Web of Science, but also Web of Science. that Russian Web of Science, right?
Yes, but there are not so many journals in Russian sociology which are included to Web of Science. So,
but in this e-library, those ones would be included, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you see, at least my problem, which I see, is that this e-library is including Web of Science, but written in Russian, probably, right? And also other journals, right? So if you will go to the normal Web of Science, not the Russian one, then those papers will be published in English and will be only selected ones. So what I think it's not really comparable to the Russian database, or maybe another thing, because for instance, the paper that you published, Dasha, with Vlado, for example, that paper would not be indexed in the e-library, right?
No, it is indexed. It is indexed.
Why?
Because they just index, so you saw that there is a huge list of journals which you find for sociology, and probably because I am a Russian author, so they include another information of my publications. So I do have this publication in my list of publications in the library.
Then I would ask in e-library, how do they include Russian authors if they publish in English? And if that is the case, then I think e-library is enough. You don't need Web of Science, if that is the case. If they cover all publications of Russian scientists, also published in English in foreign journals, if they include all this, then I think e-library would be fine.
Yes, but we should definitely understand the how it is indexed, how these publications are indexed there. Okay.
Yeah. I think I would go to some people that know exactly what's going on in the e-library, and I would ask them concretely, how they select Russian authors into their database if it is not published in Russia, but somewhere else. So that should be a kind of deep talk, a long talk, so that you would understand exactly what are they doing. And if they do cover everything that Russian scientists are publishing around, that's it for me. Vlado, what do you think?
Yeah, essentially I agree with this, and I think I would concentrate on authors, Russian authors. That would be, let us say, the main unit and their production. So that was one of the questions. But otherwise, if they don't index everything, then I think if you show again that slide with Russian version of Web of Science.
Excuse me, can I make a point here?
Yes.
So just talking about the e-library source, I don't think it's a reliable source of information, because actually you need to understand the logistics, how the author is indexed there. Because, well, I had my own publications, and well, when I was trying to register there, I just had to put it manually. If you just do it by yourself, then you can be displayed in the system. If not, you will never guess that you'll be published. So you have to understand the logistics.
Yeah, that was my point. The logistic is very important, and you should understand this logistic very, very, very deeply.
So this is the right slide.
Yes, so this is the search by Russian Science Citation Index.
Now, if you look there, you have this расширенный поиск. You see, and there I think you can specify the details how to search.
Yeah, I should admit that I didn't make it very deeply, so there can be some options. Yeah.
So I think there you can specify different metadata fields and their values. So I think you can get you can be quite selective in the search.
Yeah, and this probably and this is search for Russian. So it will be. You have to decide then, will you include publications in Russian only or Russian and English? And does this Web of Science search by Russian Science Citation Index includes only Russian speaking or also Russian language or also English language? That means, for example, your paper with Vlado.
No, I think I don't care about the language. What's important is that there is a Russian author that produced something.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because then if we are going, so one of the tasks of the project is to see the orientations towards international level or local level.
That's also very
important. If we are not going to see this in English papers, then we would not get the proper results. So it's not correct.
Yeah, and I think if you are trying to analyze things through time, you can also then analyze how much the Russian sociologists are integrating in the world sociology development.
So you mean to see at the time snapshots for each year?
Yeah, but you have the publication date, so that can be done later.
The thing is that some publications will be here and in eLibrary. And when you are going to merge, you will have to check this. You would not have twice the same paper. So that will be quite something to do because there are probably some mistakes, I don't know, they will not specify correctly something and it, yeah.
No, I think that the main problem is identification of persons, because now many will appear with at least two names, the Russian version and sometimes the same Russian name can have many different Latin names, let us say. For instance, if you are publishing in Germany, probably the name can be written differently than, for instance, in English or in French. So the same person can appear under different names. So yeah. I think this will probably be the largest problem. But when you have some normalized, some canonical name, then I think you can use the approach that's used that we also used in Voz to Pajek, but it's borrowed from his site of Garfield. So you have this identification that's composed from the name and then the publication year, volume, and the first page of the paper. Yeah? And in this way, you can quite efficiently resolve the problem of, let us say, duplicates at the level of works.
It seems to me that you will have to include this database, this Web of Science for Russian index and e-library, because according to what your colleague was saying, that e-libraries is or is not including papers published in another language, so then it will not be complete. And if you connect this with this database, if you merge, then maybe you would be more complete. But what about if somebody published in a journal which is not Web of Science, but it will be, I think, for instance, in English, so then those ones you will not have.
Yeah, that's always the problem of coverage of these databases. Probably also all publications in Russian are not indexed, so this is always a problem. But now I think the other option is probably Scopus, because Scopus is taking much broader number of journals,
especially in social sciences.
Now, yeah, there is this question: how well social science is covered by Web of Science, and we have this, I think, yeah, extended version, but probably Scopus would be maybe better, but. But
yeah,
I think it's very important to include Web of Science, because in Web of Science, the most important journals are included. So if somebody produced something that's important, really important, it's usually indexed in the Web of Science. So it can happen that some papers are missed, but in general, I think Web of Science is quite a good indicator of let us say, importance.
Quality.
Dasha, are you planning to use only journals, not monographs or chapters in the monography or something like that?
Yeah, we were thinking about journals and articles. Yes, but if you will also need to consider monographs, then another interesting world of monographs is opening for us. Yeah.
So e-library doesn't cover books.
They do cover books, but for books, this is really quite strange. So, for example, there would be a monograph with different chapters. And for example, as in my case, so there was a monograph published, and some of the authors or organizations of these authors, they took care about them, and they indexed these chapters in the e-library. But for example, I didn't. And so there would be the set of chapters, but not all of them would be included, for example. Yeah. Okay, I need to check about the inclusion of books. But probably this can be a kind of prolongation of the project, because I'm just afraid that it can be too much.
Yeah, what did you promise? You promised journals?
Yeah, we promised publications, articles.
articles in journals.
Yeah.
Okay, then let us stick on that. Yeah. So, well, you know, it depends on what you promised, right?
No, I think the most important question is the data available. So if some data which are important for the question are available, then it's fine. If the data are not available, then forget about it. So, because for instance, one such thing would be also to look to the collaboration on the level of projects. But the question is, do you have the data about the projects and so on? So it's this is surely for maybe the next iteration. But,
next application.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will need to look or probably ask a library how they include the information on the journals out of the list, out of the index list, so that other publications in English. And to see if it is possible to search for the Russian authors in Web of Science. But we are going to understand the article of Russian sociologist, even if it is written in Russian. I mean, it should be written in Russian and also in English. So this is one of the answers. I mean, at least at least we get the answer to one of the questions.
Yeah, but also other languages, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Dear colleagues, do you have any other?
Yeah, another thing, I think it would be nice that you prepare a kind of list of attributes that you are collecting. For instance, language is also one of the things, and maybe the location. Maybe you also know some properties of authors or so on, for instance, on which institution they are and so on.
There is affiliation.
Yeah, affiliation data and so on. So, and you have to look whether it's possible to obtain this data from these databases.
Dasha, Vlad and I, we have affiliation in Ljubljana and in Moscow. Are we treated as Russian authors?
Nice question.
Nice question.
Definitely.
I think you have to search a little bit. At least, for example, in e-library, what they say.
Make lists what data are available from different sources, and maybe it's not necessary that you get all the data at once. For instance, maybe there is somewhere some other option that you can get something about the authors and so on. So,
you know what I would also do? Take one Russian sociologist that is older maybe, and that he or she published a lot of things also outside of Russia. And just to see what kind of names are attributed to him or her, you know, I would just make some examples of those guys. I mean, just that we see if Vlado is right, that they have once one name and the other time another name and so on. Just that you simply see what's going on, you know, in these databases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think when we are doing these kind of things at my center, you know, we are always doing this kind of Stichprobe, we say, you know, that we take one name or one author and we see what's going on. But you have to take one that really publishes a lot everywhere. And then you see what's going on. And then look at this author in all these databases so that you will see what you get in one database, what you can, you know, so that you can compare a little bit what you have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, it's a good. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not only one. I don't know how many sociologists are publishing a lot outside, you know. But
there are some, yeah.
Yeah. So I would take several of them, you know, maybe. This would be a kind of qualitative study, what's going on in these databases, right? Mm-hmm. So if you take, I don't know, 5 of them, and then you see everything that you get out of these databases in Web of Science, in eLibrary, and in the other ones, so that you will see what's going on. Mm-hmm. And what they cover out of these guys, you know, so that you will also see how well is covered whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be an interesting study. I mean,
okay, case study.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would certainly do that. It will be very interesting to see what kind of mess this may be here and there, you know, and just compare a little bit. I would include also Scopus, so that you would see also what else Scopus would get for those guys, for that guy, you know. Yeah, maybe I would take something like between 5 to 10 these sociologists, and I would check in all these databases what you get, whatsoever you can get for them, and then compare and see what are the problems, or maybe with names, maybe that the same paper is published in different ways and all this, or maybe other problems that maybe we don't think about them now, but then they will appear when you will compare.
Yeah, great. Very good idea. And I wanted to ask you, what about in case of hobbies? So do they include the international publications by themselves?
They include all journals. They don't include books, as far as I know, because Web of Science has also books. But I don't know how you can get that information. But I think that Scopus doesn't have books, but they have journals, and not much more. The set of journals is much bigger than the set in the Web of Science. For instance, methodološki zvezki are in Scopus, but not in Web of Science.
But when you publish your paper in international journal, you do not need to include it by yourself, right? So it's automatically.
Well, I hope so. If they include a journal, then they are supposed to include everything automatically, I think. But again, I'm not 100% sure.
About which database you are speaking now?
Scopus.
COBIS. COBIS COBIS is different. For COBIS, we have usually at each institution, there is a person that is entering this data into COBIS. But what's important is that when you are applying for some project and so on, the data from COBIS matter quite a lot. So each one is interested into providing reporting to this person what
everything that he published.
Yeah. So they are not searching for, but how to say, researchers are reporting to this person, and then that person enters. So this is how to say, some prevention of self-esteem and so on. And so it's, the data are classified in the right way and so on. And all the data are included and so on. So it's, yeah.
I think that the general idea of e-library is the same, so that there should be someone who enters the data, but the second part of your process is not working. In our case, I think that people are not so much interested to enter it, and so it can vary from person to person. That's why.
Yeah, but if how to say, your projects are depending on whether you report or not, how to say, most people do.
Yeah.
Or habilitation or all these kind of things. You know, in our case, this COBIS is really important for everyone being or at universities or in
research
institutes or whatsoever, you know, because everything depends on that database. You are evaluated according to that database.
Yeah, that's great that you have such a full database.
Yeah, I also think so.
Okay.
But we are small, so it's much easier.
Yeah, easier to navigate the researchers. Yeah. Okay, dear colleagues, do you have any other comments? Katerina, I see that you turned your microphone on, but we don't hear you. Katerina Gubai is actually one of the scientists, one of the researchers who was working on this study on the local scientific community of sociologists in St. Petersburg. And we are extremely interested in the experience of our colleagues. And also now we have Angelika Tsivinskaya in the room. And so we are thinking, I already talked about it, so we are thinking probably to organize some seminar and to invite our colleagues, and so that they will just share their studies and probably some secrets of their methodological approaches. So it would be nice, and we discussed with Angelika this, and so once again.
I can say something about the data in general. So in our big project, we collected data from e-library for sample of Russian sociologists, and we have like particular definition for who we consider. And for them, actually, in terms of collaborations, I have a data about papers that are written in collaboration, not individual papers, but subsample of papers that are written with someone else. But in terms of sociology, I don't know how it would be important to include like a diagonal for number of all papers that they published individually and in collaboration. So it could be difference in topics, what they choose when they publish by themselves and when they collaborate with someone. So it's also like interesting term. And in terms of also affiliations, eLibrary summarize affiliations from publications, and for each profile of the author, you can have like a table where they've been in different years, so you can probably see like migrations, or if they have double affiliation, if time periods overlap. But there is like a bit of problem because the data are sometimes not of a high quality, and some papers are assigned to the author that cannot be actually not really theirs, but it's like someone with a similar name, so they attribute it and they contaminate profile. So it's needs some checking, or like if there is like affiliation that attributed from one paper, maybe it's error in a database. So you should like look up, because it's contaminates like your assumptions about where they actually been in this time. So yeah, it's like a big project, and there is like some quality issues with all databases. Web of Science at Scopus, it's about coverage, and the main problem that eLibrary tries to summarize all papers and create one big profile, but Web of Science can create like duplicates, so it could be 2 or 3 profiles for one person. So they are different in how they collect profiles for authors. Yeah, so it's very interesting to discuss and to share our experiences.
Yeah, so we will be very happy to invite you to our seminar when you will be able to do this.
And yeah, we're also quite busy right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, thank you, Angelica, for catching up with this topic. I just want to add that Angelica knows more details about our data process, but I want to raise some related issue about database and sample strategy. There is one particular problem with Russian data, and it is related to scientific pressure. For example, many journals they try to be related with different classification topics, because it's easier to attract many authors for these journals. That's why if you choose, for example, sociology journals based on this formal classification, you might end up with journals which are not related to sociology in any for any sociologists. So maybe if you want to rely on classification strategy based on topic, it might end up with some problems. And maybe the sample strategy related with people and authors is more convenient for your project. For example, in our project, we decided that this person is a sociologist if the majority of his papers published in the topic of sociology. Not every paper, but majority of his papers. And the second step is look at citations, and if majority of his citations came from sociology topic, it also helps to decide that this person is a sociologist.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you very much for sharing this. So this is how you operationalize the person who can be called a sociologist. So we should definitely think about something. This, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, sure. And
And maybe
When
the second problem, yeah, I also just realized that the second problem with solutions is also related with scientometric pressure, because if you want to study co-authorship, you might find out that many co-authored papers, it's not a real co-authorship, it's not a real collaboration, but some purchased papers which came up as a result of publication pressure, when authors just cooperate to pay for this publication. And it is also really difficult to empirically decide which papers are real papers or not real papers. And if you find some empirical solution, it would be really great.
So that you can somehow identify these groups of collaborators in the structure of the graph.
Yeah, you may find out that collaboration structure has changed greatly between 2013 and 2015, for example, when this project, Russian Excellent Project, was organized. So maybe the solution is look at time dynamic related with time, with years. And maybe these purchased papers with no real collaboration were located in some types of journals, and you may choose to use some categories like discontinued journals from Scopus, for example, or journals from low quartiles. So it might help. And maybe it's a good idea not to refuse to analyze these papers, but to bring attention to this kind of papers and to show other maybe countries that that on academic periphery might be problems with analysis of collaboration patterns, because we might have the problem with not real and not real collaboration.
Great. So many passes to go.
Yeah, I think these are mainly the questions for the second phase when you are cleaning the data. So and usually this phase takes quite a long time because many such problems appear, and you have to decide what to take into account and what to remove from your analysis.
Great. Oh, thank you very much for your comments. It's very valuable for us. So unfortunately, I think now it is time to finish. I see that people are moving because they need to go to their school, to the studies. So if we do not have any more comments that we now can discuss, so probably we can finish this discussion. But this was just the opening, and we are sure that we will come back quite soon with the next stage. And so we will try to answer some of the questions, and you can follow us and answer these questions with us. And we will take into account the valuable experience of our colleagues who are doing the studies. And we will also organize some meetings and share our results. So I think it can be nice just to have a kind of club of interest for the scientific, for collaboration network analysis. So it can be, so I'm very happy now for this future. So thank you very much, dear colleagues. This will be available, and we can we can look at it, all the comments, and think about them. Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Спасибо, Арюна.
Goodbye.